Hello everyone, hopefully you can hear me clearly. Once again, I'm very happy to be back amongst all of you, and I thank Unacademy with this opportunity for giving me this platform to speak to all of you. So it's great to be back. I was there 2 weeks ago, and once again happy to be back with you. Hopefully all of you are safe and taking good care of yourself amidst this various issues in the country at the moment, and hopefully you're being very sensible in the way you go about your life. I've been asked to speak about a lot of aspects of my playing career, and the first topic, which all of you can see on your camera and on your computers, is the straight drive into leadership. As you go through the various pointers today, if you see, we speak about the dressing room, we speak about management on the field, we speak about challenges, we speak about the art of captaincy, and then finally with watching my legacy grow. So as I enter into the discussion with you today, I thought it's better off I put the straight drive into leadership and the art of captaincy and the commandments of leadership in one go, because all three of them basically mean the same. It's one chapter, the art of leadership, captaincy, commandment. It all includes in leadership role when you start your journey as a leader. Like all of you, I was a young cricketer when I started. Never expected to play for the country. I wouldn't say never expected to play for the country. Never thought of playing for the country at that early age. And most of you here, I know there are some senior members who would be listening to this. There are some young boys and girls who are on the verge of taking their career forward. So the leadership, my entry into leadership came suddenly. First it came in 1999 when I was a young boy, and the Indian cricket team was divided into two teams. One had to go to the Commonwealth Games and the other had to go to Canada, where we were playing the West Indies. And I was first time made captain, full-time captain for the 3 one-day matches. We had a very young team. Me and Rahul Dravid was the vice captain, and we split the Indian contingent into two halves. And the West Indies was a very good side. They were led by the great Courtney Walsh, there was Brian Lara, there was Shivnarayan Chandrapal, Chris Gill, and they were pretty much a full-strength team. So that was my first entry into leadership in my tenure as captain, and we won the series. We beat the West Indies 2-1. We won the first game. The West Indies came back and beat the next one, and finally in the third game, we beat a very top-notch West Indies side with a very young Indian team. So obviously that was a temporary entry of mine into leadership, where we won the series 2-1, and then the full-time leader came in, which was Sachin, and he took over the reins again, and he captained the country for a while till in the year 2000, 1999, 2000, after the tour of Australia, when South Africa were coming to India, and they'd already arrived in India. The great Sachin Tendulkar, who's a very dear friend of mine, and a very, very dear friend. Even now, we hardly get to see each other, but the friendship has continued. He said that he doesn't want to captain India anymore, and I was asked to be captain. So it was a pretty difficult time taking over. Lost in Australia, struggled against South Africa at home, and then I became captain in the year 2000 against South Africa. Our first series at home as captain. Playing at home was always easier. I wouldn't say easy, but comparatively, when you travel abroad, when you go to countries like Australia, England, South Africa, you having them in your own backyard was a lot easier challenge than actually going back to their country and beating. And I think that was my real aim and dream as a leader, that once I take over the leadership of the national side, we should be a team which was good enough in India, and a team which traveled well as well. Because in the early part of my playing career, I know India were winning a lot of tournaments in the 1980s. They won the World Cup in 83, the Benson Hedges in 85, and then England in 86. But after that, and I think after the 87 World Cup, there was a massive dip in India's performance, particularly overseas, for a period of good 12, 13 years. And that's for me was the biggest challenge of leadership, of creating a team which won away from India. That series finished with India beating South Africa at home, and and then the Hansi Cronje saga came in, and it just took the entire world by storm. Yes, I would consider it as a dark hour. But what helped me during that period was that I went away to play for county cricket in Lancashire, in Manchester, and I hardly got to know what was happening in India. So by the time I came back after 6 months, I think we were completely a new side. Me, Sachin, and Rahul were the senior most. Anil was there, an absolute champion, what he has been over the years, and we had to rebuild the side. It actually helped me. It actually helped me because I was a young leader, a young captain, and it helped me actually take over a young team. Me and Rahul made debut in 1996 together. So, to be honest, the two senior men were Sachin and Anil Kumble, and the rest were at par. We were just into the national team. VVS Lakshman came in, one of my very dear friends, and that's when I took over as the reign. And we talk about leadership, we talk about captaincy. My captaincy did not have any specific rules and guidelines. As they say, and I've said that in many a number of times in my various speeches, that my captaincy did not come out from the books of the Art of Captaincy or some great captains who have written down, or I've spent nights after nights going through those books and trying to put my captaincy in a similar platform. I wanted to create my own benchmark, and I think that's what should be for every young leader, because everyone is different. Just like no two fingers are the same, no two human beings are the same. Their mindsets are not the same. Their way of looking at life is not the same. Their pressures of life is not the same. So I think when you get introduced as a leader, when you come in and you're given a job, especially with the magnanimity it was for myself or any other Indian captain, leading the country, it's never an easy thing. And I think the best way to go about it is by doing what you feel is right. The best advice. I was a young captain then, and I met one of the great captains in one of my away tours just after I became captain in Zimbabwe. And I asked him that, what do you think about captaincy? And he told me some simple ideas and simple thoughts. He said, you've been given a responsibility. And a lot of you in your careers, in different lives, whether as a leader of a corporate, a leader of your various projects, or even in the sports world, you will be thrown into the deep end. And the best thing he told me was that, Sourav, you've been given a responsibility to lead your country. You do it the way you think is best. You need to be honest to yourself. You need to be honest in the sense that you've given everything you have within you for the betterment of the team, for winning cricket matches. And by the time you go to bed in the night and put your head on the pillow, and you're thinking about the day of what you've done, you should be able to tell yourself that I gave everything I had to change this team. And for all of you who are in this room and listening to me and watching me, at the end of the day, when you come out from a days of hard work, you should be able to sit back with your cup of tea, or when you spend that 15 minutes in the shower, you should be able to tell yourself that, I was given a responsibility and I did with the best interest of my company. Yeah, I'm back. I'm back. Hi everyone, I'm back. I think it's just a bit of a internet disorder. So, as I was saying, that that's the best advice I got from one of the great captains, is that do what you think is the best. Because as I said, every individual is different. Every individual would address a situation differently. Every individual's handling of pressure, which is so important when you're in the biggest job, will be different. So do what your gut feel says. Yes, everybody has a plan. Everybody has a way to go about his job, and do it fearlessly. Do it with the mindset that I know I'll be judged, I know I'll be criticized, I know there will be someone who will always tell me that he could have done it better than you have, but that's absolutely rubbish. That doesn't hold anything ultimately in the long run, and it's ultimately what you do best. So from my point of view, my leadership and my captaincy was completely on a different tangent, and I never looked up to, or I never followed anyone to decide how the way I captain. For me, I had few beliefs on captaincy. As you speak about the art of captaincy, you speak about the commandment of good leadership, which, as I said at the start of my discussion, that I will put everything in one go. I looked at it differently. For me, the players were important. It's a team game. Remember, all of you, when you get into a leadership role and work in a group, some of you may be MDs of big companies. One day, that's what you dream of. Some of you might be having their own businesses where you have to lead 50, 100, 500,000 group of employees. And that's when your leadership skill is challenged. That's when everyone looks up to you, especially in the tough times, especially in the times of crisis. They look up to you and say, he's my leader, he's my boss. So for me, the biggest thing of captaincy leadership was identification of the talent, of the people who worked under me, the people who the people who I led for over a long period of time. So for me, identification of talent was the most important criteria, and I was fortunate enough that during my playing era, lot of very good players came into the national team, and I didn't have any hard and fast rule, to be honest. I just backed my instinct, my experience over a period of time, and when I looked at someone, I said, "Wow, this fellow can win cricket matches." For the most important criteria for winning cricket matches, for picking a player, for for deciding who would actually be in my team, was his ability to win matches. Because when you play cricket, when you compete with teams in the world, when you do various projects, you will not win all the time. There are days when you will have bad days. There are days when you'll fail. There are days when you will not be winning. But at the end of the day, at the end of your cycle, if you have more good days than bad days, I think you have had a successful tenure as a leader. So I identified those players. I allowed them to flourish. During my growing up days as a captain, I felt many a times players were just given one opportunity, two opportunities, and were never allowed to become better players because the fear factor was in their mind. All of us in this room, all of us in your respective places want to succeed. We want to have a good life. We want to have a good career. We want to sit down and tell our friends and families that I've worked hard to achieve. So there is a fear of failure in everybody's mind. What happens if I fail? What happens if the world thinks I'm not good enough? So as a captain, when you had young players playing under you, the biggest thing you needed to do was to take the fear factor away. They knew what they wanted, which came down to planning and which came down to communication. Communication is very, very important. So the young players who came in, the message was loud and clear that all what I want from you is the day when you are in good form, when you are in a good day, India needs to win cricket matches. I never believed in draws. I never believed in playing well and still not winning. So for me, identifying the talent was important. And once the talent was important, it was identified, you give them an absolute clear platform to express themselves. Express themselves in a way that for all what they needed to be there was that red or the white cricket ball coming out of the hand. They should not be bothered about what the world thinks about themselves. They should not be bothered about what the selectors think about themselves. They should not be bothered about what the captain thinks about themselves. All what they need to be bothered about is that red ball or the white ball coming out of the bowler's hand. So the fear factor was very, very important. For me, the art of captaincy, the art of leadership, the art of building good teams was about man management. Man management is very important in everyone's life. It's not just about man management, but it's also about psychological management of everyone. The players you play, the support staff, to get the team together, and you have to manage everyone individually. For all of you, you have so many options. If you don't work for the Tatas, you work for the Ambanis. If you don't work for the Ambanis, you work for the Jindals, or you work for the Adanis. You are a government employee. So for you, the options were a lot. One job led to the other. You had the option of choice. But when you played for the country and when you became a national player, when you were one of the millions who wanted to play the game, the 15 which got selected was 15 out of lakhs and lakhs of cricketers who were slightly less better than you. Some may be more better than you, but lacked opportunities in life. So the pressure was more. So they all came from different parts of India. I had a Dravid from Karnataka, I had a Yuvraj from Punjab, I had Venkatesh Prasad from one part of the world, I had a Tendulkar from the west. So as much as our country is so big and so vast, You had players and people coming differently, and everybody's characters were different. You had Zahir Khan, you had Rahul Dravid. Rahul Dravid was probably one of the most impeccable cricketers you would meet. Very disciplined, believed in basics, believed in a disciplined way of approaching a game, and it showed the way he batted. Left deliveries outside the off stump, was ready to grind and make a Test match 100. And his preparation for games was immaculate. But on the other hand, you had a young Yuvraj Singh coming into the team at the age of 18 and 19. He was flamboyant. It was different because he came from the north. He was a young boy, and you did not expect him to behave like a matured individual. And I think that's where leaderships came in. That's where the leader came in. You let both of them express on their own, because all you had to bother was whether they were good enough to win cricket matches for you. Yuvraj Singh would win a cricket match differently. Dravid would win a cricket match differently. You never expected them to play the same way. You never expected them to behave the same way. But at the end of the day, as a leader, what you wanted, the result is that they would contribute to the team's win in their own way. And I think that's a must in captaincy and leadership for all of you. When you walk into your corporate world, when you meet different people, when you have different staff, when you have different characters, you have to let them express. It is never my way or the highway. And most of the leaders I've seen who have struggled in the leadership period, whether as a leader of their project or as captains of the outside world, they have struggled when they started to make themselves believe that my way is the right way. And you either fall in that system or you fall off my line and we will get somebody else. It is very important that as a leader you let every individual express the way they want to. So that man management is very, very important. Now we speak about management. When we speak about management, you speak about management off the field and management on the field. And here what I spoke about is management off the field, which I think is very important, for management on the field. Because in life, whether it's in sports or whether it's in public life or whether it's in education, whether it's in professional life, your behavior off the field is replicated on the field when you play. What you react in daily life, as an individual, you react similarly when you are on the field. So it's so interly related, and it's so important that one affects the other. So for me, the management on the field, as you've heard, is about allowing everybody to express themselves and be the best. But management on the field, management when you are a leader, when you are the boss, it's about how you go about your job. It's about the mind, it's about the eye, and it's about being aware of the situation. Yes, as you said, identification of talent was very important. Finding the fresh talent, then you encourage them to express themselves and create winning ways. You treat everyone on the merit. Yes, you win because you bowl well, you bat well, you field well. But you have to convert that those characteristics off the field on the field, and you need to take that confidence on the field, which is very, very important, because that execution matters. Execution is very, very important. I was fortunate enough to lead a very strong Indian side, and an Indian side where the likes of Tendulkar, Dravid, Kumble, Lakshman, they all in their own rights had the capacity of being the captain of India. And I considered myself fortunate to be in that position to lead them. And what I did best, and what I feel all of you must try, is to make themselves as leaders as well. You did not have to have the word captain next to your name to be a leader. You create a group of leaders. And that's what we did with Tendulkar, Dravid, and make them responsible. Tell them that as much as I am a leader of the team, and probably the name captain is not next to your name when the team list is announced, but for me, you are a leader as well. You have to lead by your performances on the field. We played a lot of one-day cricket during our era, and there were situations where the likes of Ganguly, Tendulkar, and Dravid at the top of the order got all the opportunity, got all the runs. So the guys who came in at number 5 and at number 6 and went on to win cricket matches for India, 5 and number 6 and went on to win cricket matches for India, you had to make themselves believe that their contribution was as important as the top one. Ganguly or a Tendulkar got to bat 50 overs, but a Kaif or a Yuvraj who came down at number 7 or at number 6 got to bat 20, 30 balls. And they might get a good 30, they might get a good 40, which may not be the same as getting 100. But then you created those situations, you appreciated those small contributions. All of you must have seen the NatWest final when India chased 325 or many matches after that. We went to the Champions Trophy, we were 50 for 5 against Zimbabwe. And then Mohammad Kaif went on to score 100 in that game, and India managed to win it. So you acknowledge their small contributions, a brilliant stop on the boundary line, a brilliant catch on the fence. You applauded that. You made them feel that, listen, hey, you may have got a 30, you may have got a 40, but your contribution in winning that cricket match was as much as a top order 100. And I think that message was very, very important when you wanted to build a good unit. Everybody had a role. Like the role at the top order was to bat 50 overs. The role for now somebody who came down in the last 5 overs was to get as much runs as in that number of deliveries. So on your journey and on your endeavor in creating a team, in your project, in your corporate world, it's very important that you create roles for everyone in the side. You make them understand that this is what you need to do and recognize it and appreciate it. There are days they will fail. There are days they will not be able to execute because the pressure is on them. The pressure is on everyone, but you still have to appreciate that they've done it more number of times than what they would actually have done if it was somebody else. So management off the field had to be replicated management on the field. The most important thing for me, the management on the field was management on the field and off the field for every individual was to tell them how to handle pressure. And when you go through it, and I come to the portion of challenges, you see captain versus selectors, captain versus controversies, captain versus unforeseen circumstances. But what was very, very important is to handle pressure, teach everyone how to handle pressure. Because once you go at the top level, once you become the biggest player in the world, or a member of the Indian team, there's pressure from everyone. There's pressure at home. When you walk out for a day to play the game or do a big project, your father will tell you, it's a big day, you must do well. You walk out of your house, jump into your car and get to the ground, your driver will say, good luck. These slowly gets into you. When we played Pakistan in India, or when we played in Australia in India, and we used to be in the hotel rooms, and the room service boy used to come in with the food. And as he would give you food and deliver and walk off, he'll tell you, good luck, inke saath jeetna hai. So, this is quite natural. This is what you play for. So for me, pressure is something which you will have to learn how to get used to. Either you do it or somebody else will handle it better than you and play. So for me, handling pressure on the field is a very important way of handling how your career. And it's a very important managerial work or managerial mindset which you have to get in. You have to create your own way of handling pressure. And the best way of handling pressure was to create a system where you get cut off from the rest of the world. I used to play a lot of cricket at Eden Gardens. I was born in Kolkata and played all my life at Eden Gardens. And I realized that I would play so well all around the world, and the moment I would come to Eden Gardens, I wouldn't play so well. And I realized over a period of time that was because the pressure which I felt as I turned up on the ground, the pressure of expectation. I would walk out of the bus and get to the change room. I would see people both on my sides who I've seen for the last 20 years. I could see the smiles on their faces. I could see the happiness on their faces. I could see the expectations on their faces. That he's a local boy. We've seen him grow. He needs to get 100 at Eden Garden. And somehow I couldn't handle it. So one fine day I decided that I'm just going to create a barrier from every one of them, as if they didn't exist for me. It was not rudeness. It was not arrogance. But it was just my way of finding a plan to get a test match 100 at Eden Gardens. And I remember against Pakistan, I got it. I just walked into the dressing room as if there was nobody on my left and nobody on my right. The room service, the lunch guy would come and give lunch at the break time. I would not even look at him. it was not because I was rude to him. I just didn't want to look into his eyes and realize that he's expecting me to get 100 because I belong to Calcutta. And it worked. And it worked. I used to stay at home when I played in Calcutta, and my mother used to wake up in the morning, do her puja, put breakfast, and I could see in her eyes that she's probably more nervous than I am. So I had to tell her one fine morning, one fine day before the test match, I said, listen, I don't want to see you in the morning of the game. You just put my tea and breakfast on the table and you disappear. I can look after myself. I'll get ready. I'll pack my bags and I'll go away and play the cricket match. And it worked because I created my own zone of success where nothing existed other than the ball. I did not feel the pressure of expectations. I did not walk out to bat thinking that everyone wants to get 100. Another pressure which we all felt as when we were on the field is the scoreboard pressure. Is the pressure which you will, for most of you in the corporate world, is the pressure of the balance sheet. For us, it was the pressure of the scoreboard. You had to get runs on the scoreboard. As captain, I would go out to bat at number 5, and some days we would be 30 for 3. And I look up to the scoreboard and say, "Oh God, we are not in a good position." And that completely took away the freedom of my batting once I saw that scoreboard. So I had to create a thought process in me where I just went up, took guard, and played on the merit of the ball, and it worked. They say, and if you ask somebody like Virat Kohli, who's such a great chaser in one-day cricket, what do you do when you walk out to bat? You have 350 on the scoreboard. You have to get it in 50 overs. Do you look at it or you just play? The answer would be you just play. You just watch the ball and play on the merit of it. So for all of you who go into projects and who have to create a profit in the balance sheet, don't think about the profit. Don't think about what's going to happen in the next quarter. Just think about that particular day, that particular ball, how you would encash your commodity, your product in the market to achieve that balance sheet. The best way to score a test match 100, they used to say, was to look for the next ball. Not think about the 100. As you walk to bat in the middle and take guard and score runs, you look to score the next single. You look to score the next boundary and not think about getting 100. It accumulated to get 100. Because moment you think about 100, moment you think about thousands of crores in the balance sheet, it puts pressure on you. That number puts pressure on you. It is called the scoreboard pressure. It is called the balance sheet pressure. So that pressure is very, very important when you're on a journey to be successful, when you're on a journey to achieve what you want to achieve. That fine line of focus. The past you cannot control because that's gone. It will not change. The future is too far for you. What is in your control is the present. You control the present, and trust me, it'll take control of the future. So pressure management on the field was very, very important. Challenges. Life is about challenges. I don't think any one of you would want a life where there is no challenge. You would not be walking into a project, but everything is spick and span for you, and you just sip a cup of tea, sit on your chair, and leave the office at 5:30 in the morning with the balance sheet at its own place. It's no life. A life without challenges, it does not exist. A lot of people ask me when I finish playing, Saurav, I see you do so many things. You work in the television, you have your own business, you're involved with the IPL, you run the BCCI. What do you miss? What challenge you miss? I say that, the biggest challenge I miss is that when I wake up in the morning with that nervousness, that today is my day. If I score runs, by 4:30 in the evening, I'll be a hero. If I don't score runs, by 4:30 in the evening, people will criticize me. And that was a massive challenge. You fought through that challenge. You found a way to solve it. You found a way to score runs. And by the time the day finished, people said you had a fantastic innings. And I think that challenge for all of us in life is very, very important. As a leader, trust factor was very, very important. Your players needed to trust you. When you become a leader of your corporate, when you become a leader of your project or a multinational, the people who work with, the shareholders who are there, they need to trust you. And you have to create the trust. It just doesn't happen that you walk into the office with your suit and tie, with a name and trust is created. It doesn't happen like that. Through your expressions, through your words, through your way, through your actions, You have to create that trust among the players, and for a leader, the trust factor was very, very important, because a captain was in between the selectors and his team. You had to send the right message to the selectors, to the players, because as I said, only 11 could get picked of the millions. And the easiest way out for a leader, and it has happened many a number of times, is that when you give him a completely different picture. The worst thing you can say when a player who has been dropped, or the player who has been rested in the side, is when he comes up and asks you, what wrong have I done? There are two ways of dealing with it. You can tell him, no, everything is fine and you will be back. And by doing that, you're actually killing his confidence. By doing that, you're actually finishing him as a player. And I've seen over the years in my leadership role, it's important to be honest. It's important to tell him that this is what you lack and this is what we expect. And once you get that sorted, we will have you back in this team. That is very, very important. I've dealt with a young Sehwag in 1999 when he came to me after the Pakistan tour dropped, and he asked me what I needed to do. I said, you needed to become a better player of fast bowling if you want to play for the country. So when he came back in 2 years' time, Virendra Sehwag, he became a much better player. He understood that what he needed to be a successful international player. He realized that he had to play fast bowling better, because I was honest with him. I was open with him, and I made him understand that what his weakness is. And he went on to become one of the greatest opening batsmen the world has ever seen. And I think that was because he had faith in the captain, that the captain was absolutely clear in what he believed. And I think that is very, very important. I'll tell you a small story about Anil Kumble. In the year 2003, we were going to Australia, and I was very, very keen on doing well in Australia. We had to sit and pick the team for the day, a few days before we left the country, and there was a huge discussion on Anil Kumble. A lot of people felt, a lot of the selectors, I would say, felt that it was better off taking a left-arm spinner to Australia, because the Australians don't play left-arm spin very well. And I knew that in that selection meeting that the only player who would be up for discussion for a long period of time was the great Anil Kumble, because I knew that he was playing for his place. So from that point of view, I entered the selection meeting where the selectors were very clear, saying that we don't want Anil in the side. I put my foot down and said that Anil Kumble has to go, because I knew this could be the end of Anil Kumble. The meeting went for a couple of hours, and at the end, I succeeded in getting Anil on the flight to Australia for a very, very strong trip. And I knew that everything which was discussed in that selection meeting would be spoken to Anil Kumble, especially by his selector, and he would tell Anil what all he did to keep him in the side. We landed in Australia. The selectors, before I left the country, said, if Kumble doesn't do well and India doesn't win, we will drop you first before we drop anybody else. Anil Kumble played that series, had a fantastic year. He finished that year with 75 wickets, the most he had in his career in one season. And the reason I say this, because the entire discussion must have been communicated to him. The entire discussion of you leaders standing up for a player was communicated to him. And I remember on day 5 in Sydney, we had to bowl 90 overs to win the series, and I met Anil in the morning at the SCG, and I said, Kumbles, how do I go about this job? And he said, you look at 45 overs from the other end, I'll bowl my 45 overs. And that's what you need a top-class player, one of your main soldiers, to say under pressure. There are times when, as a leader, you will come through a situation where you could take the easier option. Because when you play for a long period of time, everybody's career will not be the same. There will be highs, there will be lows. But I've always believed that over a period of time, class is permanent and form is temporary. And I knew that the great Anil Kumble had a little blip in his career, and if we didn't stand by him, we would lose one of the greatest of all times. And he came out and became a champion. He went on to captain India after that, and everybody knows Anil Kumble's record in international cricket. So in your journey, in your leadership, you must remember the easiest thing is to say, fair enough. Let's not take the blunt on me. Let's let this player go, let a new player come, and he might deliver. That is the easiest option. But when you create a team and when you become somebody trustable, Because all these words go around, the messages go around among the individuals that, hey, listen, it's happened to Anil, this will happen to me also. So let me give my best for the leader, because he is someone who supports us and who backs us. And that's how you get the best of every individual. Challenges are there for your unforeseen circumstances. It's your dream, it's your goal. When you start on a journey of success, you dream of so many things. You dream that one day you're going to be the CEO of the biggest industrial company in the country. When you start a journey as a cricketer, you want to become a successful national player. You want to be a Tendulkar, you want to be a Kohli, you want to be a Kumble, you want to be a Dravid. So all of us have dreams. And I think the leader, when he dreams about certain aspects, which for him is very, very important. And for me, as a leader, the most important aspect was trying to play well overseas. We went to Australia, where we played exceptionally well in the year 2003 because we prepared well for that series. I think preparation in your journey to success is very, very important. You don't prepare for your exams a month before the exams. You prepare over a period of time. I remember going to Australia 6 months before and going through the grounds of Melbourne and Sydney and finding out how we would play, how we would become a better team, all the angles on the ground, all the various areas, because Australia had huge grounds. So you had huge challenges to deliver on that. And I remember spending a week in Australia and then coming back and going to Australia the next winter. And India probably had the best trip. And that Australia was pretty strong. It was a pretty strong Australia. Steve was Australia. And I remember at the end of the day in the Sydney test on day 5, I walked into the press conference and everybody started clapping. At first I did not realize why were they clapping. I realized that they were clapping because they believed that in the last 25 years, that was the best team which has toured Australia. And that was the only team which has challenged the mighty Australians in the year 2003. So as a leader, if you want to achieve success, if you want to get past the best, if you want to achieve the hard things, you have to dream of achieving. You have to prepare long ago. You have to think about the circumstances. You've got to think about what you're going to expect on that particular day and be prepared. Preparation is the biggest step to success. If you turn up unprepared, if you just turn up, you'll be taken with so much shock that you will not be able to succeed. When you lead, when you become a captain of a team or a leader of a corporate, there'll be criticisms, there'll be controversies because people want that. Because when you're a leader, you make news. People will talk about things where you would just read and say, oh God, did it ever happen to me? And it has happened to everyone's career. The best have sat at breakfast tables and they said, Jesus, I read this in the morning in the newspaper. Was that true at all? I remember we won a test match in Sri Lanka, beating Sri Lanka in Kandy on day 4, and everybody was asking for a picture of me and Rahul. I got 98 not out. Rahul played a fantastic innings of 80, and we won the test match, chasing on the 4th innings. So we were very happy, hugging each other and taking a photo. And next morning on the front page of the newspaper, there was a headline saying they're back friends again. And I met Rahul at the breakfast table and I said, where did this come from? So we had a great laugh and realized that this was something which did not even exist. But as an individual, on your journey to achieving, when you play in a team sport, it's about handling the controversies as well. They said in boxing, it's not the number of times you fell, it's about the number of times you got up in the ring. And I think in your journey to success as a captain, as an individual, it's the number of times you stand up when you're down. To speak about watching over my own legacy, yes, everyone has to finish. Nothing remains permanent in life forever. When you take a new job, when you get past a certain age, there'll be somebody else taking over your place, and that's the rule of life. So remember one thing: when you decide if you want to do something, when you decide that you have a dream to fulfill, when you get that opportunity, give everything. Nothing in life matters. So that when you finish that job or when you finish that work, there should not be any regret that I did not give my best. So as I finished my captaincy and young players came in, which is quite natural in sport. The best have to finish. The likes of Maradona, you know, Sampras, Graf, Muhammad Ali, who have actually looked up, have had their careers over. And I think what will always remain is the example you leave in the dressing room. People will remember the wins, which is fine. People will remember the losses. Yes, that will be fine. But people will remember what legacy you left back at the end of your career, at the end of your regime as the boss of a multinational. And it will never be valued, never be judged on the number of wins and losses. And for me, my biggest contribution or biggest legacy was that we left a unit which believed they could win away. We won in England in 2007 when I was a player and Dravid was captain. It was just another leader, but the team believed in England that we can beat this England side. No other side in 25 years other than Australia had beaten England in England. And for me, the biggest pride, the biggest day was when I saw India win the 2011 World Cup at the Wankhede Stadium. The great Mahendra Singh Dhoni, that shot, that six of the last ball, will continue to remain in Indian cricket history forever. And what a moment it was. And I remember I was at the Wankhede Stadium that night, and I came down of the commentary box to watch MS Dhoni and watch the team go around the ground, because in 2003 we lost to Australia in the finals, and a team which I was captain of. So I was so happy to see MS Dhoni have the opportunity to win the trophy, and that team had 7 or 8 players who played under me, who started their careers under me, the likes of Sehwag, MS Dhoni himself, Yuvraj, Zahir Khan, Harbhajan Singh, Ashish Nehra. They all started their careers. So I think that's a legacy which I was extremely happy to leave behind as a captain. Create a team, create a mindset. Teams will happen. Teams will come and go. New players will come. That's the rule of the world. That's the rule of every sport. But it's the legacy of the belief which you leave. You see Manchester United, they've had a great legacy in the time of Alex Ferguson. The legacy of winning titles, the legacy of creating a unit, and that legacy continues even today. When new players come in, new coaches come in, yes, there could be a dip. That's life. You don't get the same generation of players all the time. But the legacy of the belief, what the great Sir Alex Ferguson left in that Manchester United dressing room, was the legacy of trying to be a champion side every time they walked on the park. So for me, the biggest legacy was that I left was that the boys or the team members would believe that India is a side which has the ability of winning at home and winning away from home. And over the years, we've seen the same sort of flamboyance, the same sort of pride, the same sort of confidence in a lot of the young teams which have traveled to different parts of the world. So for me, that is the biggest legacy. And now I'm fortunate enough to be the president of the BCCI, and it gives me another opportunity to work with the players, with different age groups in a leadership role, and try and influence the game differently. And for me, I'll always be a players person, because I know what it takes to become a player. I know the emotions of a player, how good they are and what they want to do, and it'll always be a players person. So that's what it is, leadership. As I said, leadership is about man management, leadership about the fear of failure, leadership about taking pressure, leadership is about belief, and leadership is about handling situations. And before I finish, I want to tell you something, that leadership is also about when the chips are down. Every time it will not be the same. You will not win every time, you will not be successful every time. There will be times in your career when somebody else will believe that it's the end is very near. You're not good enough to compete for the country anymore. But trust me, I went through that situation in my career, and I came back. I wouldn't want to explain what happened. I came back, and 4 years down the line, the day I finished, one of the greats of the game had said that, I know you're finishing, but this is the best I've seen you bat in the last 4 years. And the reason I say to all of you is that in your journey to success, when you become a successful person, when you become somebody who the world will stand up and acknowledge, you will get people who will raise questions on your ability. who will probably go down the path and say, his best days are over. But as long as you believe, as long as you have faith in yourself, your best days are never over. And I've seen that with a lot of cricketers. I've seen that with myself. I was left out of the team, and there was a time probably I would not have made a comeback. But at times in life, when there is not an arm around your shoulder, when everybody feels that it's time to move on, your best is yet to come. So keep believing, keep leading yourself to success. It's your attitude to life. Your life is your attitude to life. The way you look at it, the way you lead it, that's how successful you will be. So remember, as I said, and I said that 2 weeks ago when I spoke to another bunch of boys, another bunch of people, that it's never over till you actually believe it's over. The world may think it's over, but if you don't believe it's over, it's never over. And it works like magic. So remember that in your journey to success, there will be good days, there will be bad days, there will be very bad days. But what needs to remain with you is your chin up and your belief that tomorrow is going to be my day. Tomorrow is going to be a good day. And trust me, it happens. It happens to a lot of people. I've seen it, and I firmly believe that it's going to happen to you as well. So as I said, just keep the faith, and it's never over till it's actually over. I have a lot of questions. I see Divyanshi Sharma. He's an UPSC aspirant, and he dreams of becoming a leader of a country one day. And that's great. It's that great. And my advice to him is to keep it simple. Just wake up every day, do your job to the best. Don't think too far. Don't think of what is going to happen 5 years down the line. Think of that particular day. Do your job to the best of your ability. And ultimately, you will be able to fulfill your dreams. If you think too far, too long, you will just put unnecessary pressure on yourself. So my good wishes to you, Divyanshi, that I hope someday you realize your dream, as all of us want to. Next is from Riti Banerjee. He says you've achieved everything a cricketer can dream of achieving on the field and outside. What's next for Sourav Ganguly? Nothing. I keep it simple, Riti. I just want to be successful in whatever I do. I want to give my best in whatever I do because it's one life. And I lead my life that way, that I wake up every morning trying to give the best in whatever jobs I do. And by God's grace, knowingly, unknowingly, I've just been pushed into different roles. But my method and my process is simple. When you get a job, do everything you can to make it successful. As I said at the start of my speech, that everybody will approach every project, every job differently. You approach it your way and do the best you can. For Jatin, he's asked me, when you manage a lot of people and their opinions are different from yours, how do you decide when to speak up and when let to go? I think it's your gut feel, Jatin. When you're in a leadership position, you will have to manage a lot of people. You will be getting a lot of ideas. And that's when, as I said, you create your own shell. It's a filter. It's a filter you create in your own life. And once again I say, it goes back to that simple theory. Back your instincts and do what you believe is right. Because you've been given a responsibility to lead your project, your school, your company, your team. Because those who have given you the responsibility believes that you're good, believes that you can deliver. So don't just go out of your system. And the worst thing you would do is by talking to yourself every day, by saying, hey, is what I'm doing right? That's the wrong question you will ask. Just wake up and say that I'll give the best and I'll do what I know is the right thing for my project, my team, my job to be successful. Rohit, I envision the future of Indian cricket in great hands. There's some tremendous players. This country will always produce champions. When the great Gavaskar finished, Tendulkar came in. Rahul Dravid came in. Anil Kumble came in. When Tendulkar finished, Dravid finished, the great Virat Kohli has come in. So India will always produce champion players, and this team will always be strong because, it's like football in Brazil. You never know where the talent comes from. And the talent comes on a Saturday and a Sunday morning, whether you go to Bombay, whether you go to Bangalore, whether you go to Calcutta or Delhi, you see those young kids with their kit bags in the car, in their parents' scooters and motorbikes, all going to the cricket field to play. It's the passion about the sport for the young boys and even girls now in this part of the world, which makes Indian cricket so safe and so secure. There'll always be a good team, there'll always be a strong cricketing country, and will continue to dominate world cricket as they do. Ankita, your question, failing to crack my dream exam even after multiple attempts has affected my confidence and determination. What should I do to bounce back stronger than ever from this situation? Don't give up. Go back and do it again. You will be successful someday. There's very few who get successful immediately. There have been cricketers who's taken 15, 16 test matches to be successful. So don't let your confidence drop. Wake up fine morning, address your mistakes, go and do it again. If you really want to achieve that dream, go and do it again. And I guarantee you, someday you will be successful. So that's it from me, guys. Once again, thank you for having me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope all of you who have listened to me for the last 2 weeks have enjoyed or have learned from what I've said. So as I said before I finish, I will conclude with one final last word. Never give up. Never give up. And I guarantee you, you will be successful. Thank you, Unacademy. Thank you, Unacademy legends, for having me on your program. And to all the boys and girls who study online for Unacademy, my good wishes to your life, to your career. May you be successful in whatever you do. Thank you so much.